Don't be nervous if I'm loud, Brad.
All right, it says we're live. I guess it's there.
And welcome to the Fantasy Football Funhouse. Kevin, if you didn't die yet, I just woke you up because that is how you have to come in to the Funhouse. You cannot come in looking at the mirrors. Come in, kick it. Let the people know we're here to have some fun. We'll talk fantasy football. We are back for episode number 2 of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. And we got live football. The first full slate of preseason games is underway. This is Thursday night when we are recording this. And two observations right off the top. The NFL mobile app sucks. The NFL app for the Fire Stick sucks. The Roku sucks because I have been on Twitter seeing everybody complain that it keeps crashing. And I have the Fire Stick, and then I couldn't get it working on there, so I switched over to my iPad, and it keeps crashing on there also. So, listen, get it together. It's preseason. We're going to give you a couple of weeks to get the kinks out. But by the time the season rolls around, us people have cut the cord. We need you to come through, NFL. Get your crap together. Also, Steve.
Yes.
Everybody's a tizzy with Darius Geis. Darius Geis makes a nice long run, goes down with a knee injury, and all we have to go off of is he's being evaluated. So fantasy Twitter is abuzz with Darius Geis.
Panicking.
Yeah, absolutely. How much Darius Geis stock you got this year?
I don't have a lot. I'm more of a recent Darius Geis fan. I was not on him when I was doing most of my earlier drafts, my rookie drafts, my dynasty drafts, that type of stuff. I was not on him as much as I am now. I've definitely warmed up to him as a guy that I want to try and add to my team, especially if I'm starting early with more wide receiver heavy. But I don't have a lot of him yet, but that doesn't matter. I'm still hoping for the best. I still would like to draft him. Maybe if anything, this bumps his stock down a little bit. You're able to get him in the 5th round instead of the 4th right now. So yeah, I guess I hope for the best, and I still am going to be looking to add him. But I just want to say, you mentioned Kevin not being here at the top of the show. This is our 2nd episode. We got so much feedback from the 1st episode, and that was the biggest thing, was to get rid of Kevin. So we are making sure we did that. And here we are. We've replaced him with somebody who we feel is going to be much more entertaining for you guys tonight.
Wow, this guy is going to be entertaining. So let's get right to the guest. So I'm not going to say his name yet. I'm going to hold out on you guys. But he is part of the TQE, the Quant Edge team. And we'd like to discuss our partnership with the Quant Edge. So if you've been looking for an affordable tool to give you an edge in DFS and betting, look no further than thequantedge.com. They give you the tools you need to play like a pro, the ability to compare a wide receiver and a quarterback route, the ability to see hotspots for a receiver and a defense, understand what an offensive lineman's impact on a team is when he is off the field, are all possible with just a click of a button thanks to the Quant Edge. TQE will provide you with never-before-seen tools such as the head-to-head tool, the WR, that's a wide receiver, Steve, the wide receiver quarterback matchup tool, and the injury impact tool, along with a lineup optimizer that will help you create up to 150 lineups. You will have all the info you could ever want at your fingertips in fun, easy-to-use tools. But that's not all. When you sign up for thequantedge.com, not only do you get access to all of these tools, but exclusive content as well. With 10 industry experts on staff, you get access to new articles daily, along with 6 exclusive podcasts just for TQE members. We at the Fantasy Football Funhouse have a special deal for our loyal listeners. And you unloyal guys, you can have the deal too. We don't care who you are. Take the deal. Loyal, unloyal, cheaters, good guys, we don't care. Use our promo code FFFunhouse, and you get 20% off the season-long subscription, but you have to do this quickly because it only lasts till August 15th. That's right. All month of August, the site is free. But if you do not get this deal in by August 15th, you're going to miss out on getting access to the tools and content for the entire NFL season and playoffs for just $79.99. So sign up today, tonight, when you hear this podcast, whenever, but do it before August 15th. Sign up at thequantedge.com. using promo code FF Funhouse so you can start to play like a pro. Steve, how was that, Steve? How'd I do?
It sounded pretty good. I got to say, that sounded pretty good.
You know what you got to do? Don't
What?
rehearse it. Because when you rehearse it, you sound like a fool.
Yeah, it sounds fake.
So joining us from the Quant Edge is Brad Reyes. Brad Reyes is the draft app analyst for the Quant Edge. Brad, welcome to the show. What is up?
Well, thank you for having me, and it's exciting to be on a show this big for my debut for TQE.
Is this your podcast debut altogether, or just your TQE debut?
Well, this is actually the second podcast I've done overall. I did one back in hockey season, so you can tell how well that went. Yeah.
As they say here on the radio to Boomer Esiason, nobody cares about hockey, Boomer. So listen, Brad, I got a couple questions about your name.
Yeah.
I mean, Brad comes across like a pretty, white guy, like Brad is a real white guy name, but then Reyes. So yeah. I'm wondering what's going on there. Give me the breakdown.
My mom was white, my dad's Puerto Rican.
It's pretty easy. Look at that. Bam. Bam, bam.
It was that simple. My mom wanted to make sure that, she made sure nobody thought I was Puerto Rican, I guess. By naming me Brad. Well, it worked too. I mean, I moved out to Ohio, nobody knew. Yeah,
well, if you move to Ohio and you're partly white, you become all white. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, as soon as I started mowing my lawn, that's when I was like, yeah, I'm white.
My kids have a very similar situation. I am white, as you can see, and my soon-to-be ex, unfortunately, is of Mexican descent. So we got the same thing going on over there. But talk to me about your screen name, your Twitter name, Mean Mr. Mode. Is that how it's broken down?
Yeah, that's how it's broken down. It sounds more like I'm trying to be a troll or something, but really I was just thinking of Mean Mr. Mustard, but with math. So it's mean, average, Mr. Most common. It really, it's one of those names. It's like it's a dig at myself, if anything.
It's definitely a lot clearer now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an average guy. I mean, I play draft mostly to make sure I don't have to mow my own lawn. I'm not like a $20,000 day GPPer. I'm just a regular average bettor.
How many draft lineups do you have in the Best Ball Championship right now?
About 370.
Isn't there a minimum of 150? How many names do you have on there? I mean, a maximum of 150?
Oh, that you're talking about the Best Ball.
The Best Ball Championship.
Oh, the Best Ball Championship. Jeez, and the $25 one, I've got about 35.
But you've got 357 best balls so far for this season.
Right. That's what I thought you were talking about initially.
That's a lot.
I've been doing them since last December when they first started. So some of them look pretty funky.
Nice. Steve jumped into the draft questions before I could finish asking stuff about Brad and his life. But
I'm sorry.
Brad, how old are you, bud?
I'm 43.
But I love you. I love this guy. Brad, I turned 44 on Monday. These guys break my balls about being the old man, but I knew you were close to my age because I saw Skeletor in your avatar, and I was a He-Man guy growing up. Tell me you didn't play with G.I. Joe. Like, I hated G.I. Joe. I was all about He-Man, and that was the thing. Like, my buddies all made fun of me back then. They were all G.I. Joe guys, so I saw Skeletor. I knew we were tight.
Terrific. Yeah, I used to have a ton of the Masters Universe characters. So those were one of my favorites.
I like Teal. Remember that little outfit she used to wear? I won't get into that, but anyway. All right, cool. So yes, Steve asked you about the draft app. Tell us what it is that you're going to be doing at the Quant Edge, with the podcast, and will you be writing articles? Tell us exactly what it is you'll be doing.
Well, I'll be handling most of the draft rankings because I also do a lot of my drafts are against the higher end players. So I know what the sharps are looking for as opposed to just going by the ADP. So that's one thing that I do there. Another thing that I do there is I give a little insight of some of where you can get these guys, where you can hold out, where, how you can sneak a few guys in. It's like there's no need to like show your hand right now and take Kenny Stills necessarily ahead of Devontae Parker. Somebody's going to grab Devontae Parker by accident. So right now you can get a guy who's in a better spot, probably about 10 spots later.
Cool. Will you be writing articles, or you just be doing the podcast?
Oh no, I'll be writing articles about it too. I also have some best ball strategy article up, and I'll be doing that as we go through the preseason, updating
cool. That best ball article is up now.
Yep, it's up now.
So just to answer, so we are following along in the YouTube chat. You cannot see Brad because Brad. Well, first of all, Brad told me he needed to get a haircut. And second of all, he's just getting his equipment set up and updated for the big launch next week. So he doesn't have a very good quality camera. So we are aware that you cannot see Brad. And I actually heard that he was good looking, and I didn't want to be showing up on the podcast. So I actually recommended I broke his camera. That's the truth, actually.
Nah, I think I broke my camera by looking at
it. So I also got from Dwight that he thinks that this is the most he's heard me speak without swearing. So I'm thinking that your wife just joined the YouTube chat because I got truth. He does need a haircut, and yes, he is quite handsome.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's my wife. Oh, boy.
Mrs. Reyes is in the chat. Welcome to the chat. Let me tell you what. I don't know her very well at all, but I saw a great tweet that you put out about come listen to my awesome husband tonight, and that's great. It's so important that if you're going to try to make it in this business and do stuff that the people who you're supposed to be supporting by making money are supporting you. So that's a really big deal. So that's completely awesome. And she sounds like a great person. Tell us more about, your journey into fantasy. You mentioned before we got on, you do a little coaching on the side with draft. Tell us some more about those things.
Well, some of the coaching that I've done, and I keep it a little bit of the confidential, is I coach some of the more name players on a draft because they got more of a head for GPPs. And so it's a different animal. Draft is it's a little more like poker than you want to think about it. And there's always going to be a strategy. There's always like reading the room, seeing what other people have. There's always little tricks to it.
Cool.
So I disseminate those tricks to people who otherwise wouldn't know them as quickly as possible.
You might have to hit me up with those rates. If you can't see my apartment that I'm living in here, I need to definitely upgrade.
You should see the basement spot I get. So
hey, are you sure you're not Kevin? Are you just Kevin auditioning as a different guest here?
No, unfortunately.
Kevin usually is in a basement that is completely unfinished with no sheetrock. I want to point out my Bull Rush shirt. Shout out to Scott.
Oh, yeah.
And Ryan got my Bull Rush shirt in the mail yesterday. So I also want to clear up a rumor that Kevin is actually sick. He did not get taken into police custody
yet,
because there's a lot of rumors that he's hiding bodies in that basement.
Jeez.
That's right.
So
they're on to him.
So definitely not true. So you mentioned to Steve before about you're at about 35 of the best ball championship lineups right now. For those that don't know what the best ball championship is, why don't you explain it to them? And then if it's not giving away too much of your secret, tell us who the player you're most exposed to is, if you're willing to.
Oh, yeah. Well, the best ball championship is like the first big GPP they've had for season long on draft. Last season they debuted with the best balls, but they were just smaller, 12-man leagues. You had 12, 10, 6, 4, and 3 for some reason. And those drive me insane. They eat them like popcorn. But now they actually have a much bigger GPP for they have it for $25, $5, and $125. The 5 and the 25 have 46,000 entries. The 125 has 9,610, I believe. And what you're getting in at the top, you're getting a much bigger prize pool. You're getting like $1 million overall and like 100,000 to the top scorer. So it's pretty big if you're into best ball. Now, as far as my most exposed players, probably Danny Amendola.
Yeah, where are you getting him?
I'm getting him like I'll take him 15th in the 15th round. I'll take him a little bit early. Because I'm also looking for Cole Beasley too.
What is it about those guys that is giving you so much exposure to them? What about them are you targeting so much that you're going all in on them?
Yeah, I have a feeling that Tannehill's going to have a really good chemistry relationship with Amendola, and that's going to be like a 70 catch spot. And at 15, that's a pretty decent spot. I don't know how many touchdowns Miami's going to score, but I know that Amendola is going to see a lot of ball as long as he's on the field. And injury risk happens with everybody. So, but for what you're getting there, it's pretty good value. And Cole Beasley is coming off a season where he had a hamstring injury most of last year. And previously, he had about 75 carries. I mean, 74 catches, sorry. So, there's a lot of bounce back there. And Dak's already saying he's one of his most trusted guys since Witten's gone.
Yeah, when Dak came out and said that, it was a huge vote of confidence. And anybody who's been getting him in those late teen rounds, he's probably going to be a steal. We know he's like he's not a gadgety player, but he's a great PPR receiver. I mean, for what he does, and now without Dez there, like you said, he was a 74 catch receiver a couple of seasons back. He could be looking at a 90 plus catch season. So those are great values. How do you feel about rookie running backs? And it's a good crop this year. How do you feel about rookie running backs in drafts? Because I know a lot of people are drafting, and now Sony Michel's actually going to miss a little bit of time with a knee injury, but people are grabbing him, convinced that, he's definitely going to get the job done. For me, especially in best ball, I want to take chances on guys like that. But early on, I want to make sure I'm going to get guys that are going to be there every week. But it's probably why I lose all the time. Maybe you could tell me better.
Well, as far as the rookies go, I tend to use more than one. If I'm going to go a rookie route, I kind of want to shotgun them out there. Because I'm going to be wrong about somebody. Like Royce Freeman could peter out and do nothing. Penny, hey, who knows what Carroll's going to do with him this year? So there's a lot of give and go. It's not really anybody's going to bust out except for Saquon Barkley and probably Geis. I really don't. But other than that, yeah, I just take rookie running backs 2-3 at a time, at least.
So you're in, however many drafts you're in, at least 35, you said, for this best ball championship. What determines your draft strategy when you're going into it? Is it, based solely on, do you go best value available? Do you have a plan when you go into your draft? Is there something that shapes what you end up doing with your draft? How do you go into each one? Is it a predetermined plan, or is it just how the draft falls?
No, actually, I don't go in with a predetermined plan. I don't pick what kind of format I'm going to go until the first quarterback's off the board. That's my rule of thumb. So until then, that's usually about 4 rounds of just picking the best available player. And then from there, I can look at my exposure. If I've got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, well, I've got a good base. That's going to be a good even team. But if I've got like 3 running backs and 1 wide receiver, then I can concentrate on maybe going with a larger wide receiver contingent and say a 5 running back setup. Because I usually use about a 5 running back setup. I like to get my running backs early, get the ones I can concentrate on, and then maybe pick up a couple of guys that could, like Nyheim Hines, that are going to have some passing game experience or exposure, and kind of get the variance off of those guys because they have like great ceilings but small floors.
So is it safe to say you will not be the person taking the first quarterback in a best ball draft?
Actually, if I can get like Devontae Parker, second round, sometimes I actually go with Aaron Rodgers just to kind of stick just to kind of like build around the entire offense of Green Bay.
Devontae Adams? You dropped a Devontae Parker right there. I got scared.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Devontae Adams. Oh, God. Sorry. Nervous.
Yeah, I could guarantee you.
Wrong Devontae. Jeez. Oh. Don't take Devontae Parker, for Christ's sakes. He's falling off a cliff. Don't. Yeah.
All right, one more player question for me. Speaking of quarterbacks, would you be comfortable taking Deshaun Watson this year in best ball? Because I don't think he's going to get hurt again. The chance of getting hurt again, but I also don't think he's going to be the player that he came out and was last year. But people are taking him as the number 2 overall quarterback in a lot of these best balls, and they're convinced that he's going to just light it up. Are you comfortable with him?
Not especially, no. I think that the rookie season was really nice, and there was also a lot of interceptions. So there's a lot of room for drop off. Really, outside of the injury. But I don't usually like second-year quarterbacks that much. Once the league gets some film on them, a lot of the surprise is gone. Nobody thought he was going to start.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, it's Tom Savage. We all had to know he was going to start at some point. He was going to jump in there. So at TQE, what kind of tools do they have on there? Which ones have you been utilizing the most to get yourself ready for a DFS? Which ones are you looking at? Do you think give the best value to look at when you're trying to build a team for a GPP type tournament?
Well, actually, one of my favorite tools is the injury tool, where you can take a guy out and see how the team performs without him. I wish I had that for real life, So if I didn't want to go to this, hey, honey, look how happy everybody's going to be if I don't go to this wedding. You can take me right out of the situation and see how the chart goes right up.
Yeah, more food, more cake for everybody else, more beer.
Yeah, and everybody's having a better time. It's during football season. I got dragged to a wedding during football season. That's still stuck in my craw.
When's your anniversary?
My anniversary is actually in October.
What? Good God, man. How long are you married?
14 years.
Yes, it was a while back, right? So I got married February 13th, which was right after the football season. Everything was done. There was no chance of screwing anything up. But that marriage didn't last. But
I'm sorry, that's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing.
No, it's funny. I'm only making jokes about it. I remember, way back in the day. So, well, first off, how long have you been playing fantasy? I'm sorry.
Oh, geez, I've been playing fantasy about 26 years.
Yeah, nice. So you got me beat by a little bit. 94 was my first year. Well, I will say 92. I played in the Daily News. Had like that game where you could mail in your lineup and you could call once a week and change up to 3. I played there, but my first actual league was in 1994. And then 2 years later, this other guy asked me to join the league. He was the commissioner, and then he planned his wedding during football season. I was like, what kind of animal are you? What is wrong with you? He was getting led around by his so that league didn't last long. So I cut off Steve. He had all these great questions about TQE. You have any other TQE questions, Steve?
No, he brought up the injury tool. That is the one that I have played around with the most so far since it just launched yesterday. So I'm still kind of digging around. That is definitely the one that I have looked up the most and have messed around with. I love that they have an optimizer. Makes things easy for someone like me who's lazy when it comes to trying to build my own lineup like this. But I don't know what there is that hasn't been able to find that's new, that's different. And like Elliot said when he was on last week, it's all incredibly easy to click through and navigate. The user interface on it is very nice. So I don't know. It's been fun for me to play around with.
Well, if my old ass can figure it out, he's really made it like to where it's just so easy to use.
Yeah, how great is it to be a part of that? I mean, it's the absolute biggest buzz in fantasy Twitter right now. There's not a person who does fantasy who's not talking about this site. So it's got to be amazing to be a part of that team. And I've been dropping hits that way like crazy. I can't get a spot.
Well, I'm really humbled to be a part of this group because I work on Draft, which is mostly it's a growing site. But, it's still a cash game site, and it's just not too many people seem to specialize in it. So lucky me.
I would say with 350 drafts, I'd say you would qualify as an expert. You think you know what you're doing?
Is an expert or a guy with a lot of time and extra money?
Yeah, you know, I mean,
That's true.
We didn't ask him how many of those he won.
Yeah, I usually win about 67%. So, and then last year I cashed in 70% of my best balls. So that was pretty nice.
Wow, that's fantastic, actually. So let me ask you this. Let's get off the best ball for a second, and let's talk about regular season-long fantasy football. Do you play Dynasty?
No, I haven't played any Dynasty
Okay.
yet. Nobody likes me that long.
But you just do a couple of redraft leagues. Are those even scaled back now? Is it really mostly best ball for you and weekly DFS stuff?
Yeah, I'll max out my ESPN free leagues just out of sheer boredom, but I probably won't touch them the rest of the season. And then I have like one family league, so I've scaled it back entirely to concentrate on the TQE. Because otherwise, who cares what I think about my fantasy teams at home? You know?
Cool. Do you watch it any? Are you watching Hard Knocks? That debuted this week. Speaking of, you told us before the show that you were watching Cleveland, paying attention to them. And you are from Ohio, so are you a Browns fan?
I married into Browns fandom. I mean, you know, I didn't really have a home team growing up because I concentrated on baseball when I was a kid. It's like football was a secondary sport to me until I moved to Ohio. So
Gotcha.
yeah, just sort of like, all right, I'm a Browns fan, whatever.
so you that's really not something you want to be saddled with. But listen, if nothing else, it could be interesting this year, and we saw some interesting stuff in the first episode. You said you did watch it?
Yeah, I especially enjoyed the Jarvis Landry speech.
I mean, that was the big buzz, right? The following day, that was all everybody was talking about. You know what? I loved it. I absolutely loved it because you know what? He's 100% right. And I think so many people undervalue Jarvis Landry. And I know there was a lot of talk the next day, and I even the RB Scout he put out there. I wonder what the ADP uprise is after each episode of Hard Knocks. But listen, this guy has caught a ton of passes in his first 4 years in the league. I believe more than any person, right, in the first 4 years in the NFL. Now, his yardage has not been tremendous, but I also think that was because of his quarterback and the system that he played in. And I think they're going to open it up here. And I think that this guy wants to be every bit of what Odell Beckham Jr. is. They played together in college. He makes the one-handed grabs. You saw that in the first episode. He made that nice one-handed grab. And I think that intensity, for me, said, oh, I'm grabbing him at his ADP. Absolutely, and loving it because I think this guy's going to have a monster year.
Oh, absolutely. He's been my wide receiver one for Cleveland off my board all year.
Yeah,
I just don't believe in Josh Gordon being able to stay on the field
or get on it.
Yeah, or get on it. I think it might go a little bit deeper than just a pot problem. I think he might have looks like an anxiety issue from the outside looking in. Yeah.
I mean, with everything that he's gone through so far, that definitely wouldn't surprise me. But I'm definitely on the same page with you guys with Jarvis Landry. I thought that, everyone made a huge deal about it. So I'd heard all about it before I actually watched the episode of Hard Knocks. And so it was kind of funny to see it afterwards. But yeah, it was good. It gets you pumped up. And he is amazing what he does on the field. I had 3 takeaways from that show. And one is that Hugh Jackson, terrible, all the things that he had to go through at the beginning of the training camp. That aside, on the field, I don't understand how when you watch him coaching, his excitement, it doesn't translate for me. I don't understand. It just does not seem like he's controlling that team. And then also, I completely understand why Cleveland has not had a decent quarterback in the last 30 years. If they're making them all sleep in a camper during training camp, I would not want to do that for more than 1 year. So I completely understand why they've been so terrible for the last few years. And that's what I've got from episode 1.
Didn't they choose to have the camper? Wasn't that something that basically the veteran quarterbacks made Baker Mayfield pay for?
I believe he had to pay for it, but isn't that something that I assumed it was something that they did all the time?
I think that they wanted to have that separate from the they wanted to have their own little individual place separate from everybody else.
Yeah, they want to have some privacy from the cameras because that's basically what it was.
I see.
Because they can kick them out of their actual living area, I guess.
Interesting.
So for me, the biggest thing I took away from this was Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson are not going to coexist very well. I mean, he told him twice, I've sat in your seat and I'm in this seat and I'm going to make decisions. And this is my team. And you could see the frustration on Todd Haley's face. You know, Todd Haley has a history of just not getting along with people, just wearing at his welcome, even with his players. Does that worry you when his team is supposed to make a leap this year?
Yeah, that's going to be a big power struggle. I really fear for the consistency of that offense. They're going to be jerked one way and then another by Haley, one by Hugh, and I don't know. I think 4 wins is starting to look optimistic when you look at the coaching situation.
That's like a 400% improvement, right? So,
well, I mean, it's an improvement, but geez, it's like the personnel they have together on that team, it should win at least 8 games. I mean, that's a decent producing team. I mean, it's not great, but they could be a borderline playoff team with the right head coach, and I just don't see it.
Well, as we're speaking here, so one of the wide receivers, controversial wide receivers, aside from Josh Gordon, is Antonio Callaway. And I mean, we all know what happened this week, and then but he just caught a 54-yard touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield. Big hookup for the two of them. They're giving him a ton of play in this game. I mean, if this kid could keep himself clean, he might be an absolute steal. He had first-round talent, but
yeah.
God, you trade Corey Coleman, and the next day this guy basically reveals that this guy got arrested, but the talent is clearly there.
Yeah, he's a fantastic talent, but I can't imagine he's going to have an easy time staying clean in Cleveland, looking for something to do.
Yeah, did you think it was an odd mix to bring him in with Josh Gordon there?
I thought it was a terrible idea. I thought that was exactly the worst situation. It's like, send that kid to Green Bay. I mean, the only worst thing would have been re-signing Manziel to bring him in. Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't need a bunch of codependents on the team. You need a team that's going to be able to at least stay on the field.
By the way, Manziel 4 interceptions in the first half of the CFL game. Is his career over or what? It's like, Johnny, go take some of Daddy's money, go invest it, go do something. Football's not for you, brother.
Yeah, you don't have to prove yourself. You can be like Tim Tebow and just try and stick around as long as you can. But let's speak about an actual quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Sal just mentioned his touchdown pass to Anthony Callaway. He had a touchdown pass earlier in the game to David Njoku. What have you seen from Baker Mayfield tonight? Because all I've seen is good things. I've got big heart eyes for Baker Mayfield right now. Ooh. Quarterback 1 overall.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. I mean, I was skeptical of the kid coming in. I didn't like him that much coming from Oklahoma. I thought it was going to be a problem, maybe an attitude issue, but he's been great. And I really see him after week 9 taking over the job, because there's not going to be much reason to bring Tyrod back next season. And unless the team's a playoff contender, they're going to dump Tyrod with possibly by as early as week 4. I mean, I think he gets.
That was Elliott's take last week. Elliott thought that he would take over, Baker Mayfield would take over by week 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit early for me. I think he gets about 8 weeks in, and then you get Baker Mayfield. That makes him very hard to take in a best ball championship situation if you're only trying to use 2 quarterbacks. Because what are you going to do? Use Tyrod and then switch over to Baker Mayfield? You're not really getting enough exposure to different quarterback systems, or certainly a team that's going to score more touchdowns than the damn the Cleveland Browns. Jeez.
The Indians might have more touchdowns last year than the Browns.
Yeah, I was thinking they're the only good team in Cleveland right now,
Oh, Tyrod did go 5 for 5, 99 yards and a touchdown tonight. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, he's been a good quarterback, a good fantasy quarterback, and a good NFL quarterback the last few seasons when given a chance. So it's going to be interesting. How do you see the running back situation shaking out?
It's looking like they're trying their best to give it to Chubb, but he didn't look too good in this preseason game so far.
Yeah, less than a yard a carry.
Yeah, that's not that's not going to keep Hyde on the bench.
Yeah,
so
15 carries. It wasn't like 5 carries for 3 yards. It was 15 carries for 11 yards.
Yeah, so if they're not going to get anything out of him, you're going to see Duke Johnson still coming out of that backfield as their main, as their secondary passing threat, because obviously they're going to Jarvis Landry's going to see like 200 shots. I mean, 200 looks. So you're going to see a lot out of that backfield coming from I like Hyde enough, but I really think Chubb's gonna overtake him at some point this season. Chubb isn't this bad.
Poor Carlos Hyde, right? The guy's been nothing but a top 15 running back the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The signs over here, they draft one of the top, and I was just gonna probably him and you're gonna see him and Tyrod with their little satchel over their shoulder at the season's end, just heading out. 2 guys that could be very competent players in the NFL. Moving over to the Giants side of the ball, obviously the highest drafted running back this year, Saquon Barkley, taken right behind Baker Mayfield. The first time he touched the ball, he ripped off a 39-yard run, looked every bit the part of being worth a number 2 overall pick when everybody thought the Giants would take a quarterback. I think everybody pretty much feels there's a tier of 4 running backs in redraft this year. And even in best ball, you want to be in one of those top 4 spots and get one of those 4 guys. And that's Gurley, Bell, David Johnson, and Zeke. And then you got to start to make a decision at number 5. I've really started, and even before this, to lean Saquon Barkley, even over Antonio Brown. But where are you at? Oh, Steve, you want to get in on this, Steve? Go ahead, bud. What do you want to say?
I just said I've seen it. I saw it in our Koth league that we just drafted. We just finished drafting in. You took Saquon. I somehow managed to get Antonio Brown at number 9.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I can't say that I disagree. I think if you're tearing out these running backs, you have the top 4, those main guys. But in that next tier, I think it's starting to shape itself out as a Saquon and Alvin Kamara, and then I think you can go down to another tier with the Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, all the rookie running backs from last year, basically, and also including Melvin Gordon. So I'm right there. I think he's a top 6 running back this year, no doubt. I'm all in on Saquon, RB1 overall, maybe.
Nice, yeah. I think I have him in my 6th running back off the board too. So Saquon Barkley is going to be a really, really good player. I don't know if I'm taking him over Antonio Brown. I mean, that's to me a bit of a stretch. I mean that I have a little bit of a. Well, I mean, out of a first round rookie running back, I mean, a first round is a lot for a rookie running back for me. I usually like a little more value at the rookie, but with Saquon Barkley, he's going to take me off my usual rules.
Yeah, I had that rule with Zeke 2 years ago. It bit me right in the nads. Back end of the first, almost 2,000 total yards and 16 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he danced
all
all
look
over
too
my
bad,
face. Steve's got to make the point too, Steve, that it's a point per carry league where I took Saquon Barkley. So it all depends on the league. I'm just looking around at some of the numbers for tonight and some of the other guys that are getting a chance to play. One of the things that stood out to me, and this is a guy who I was like, he's not really my type of guy. I don't feel it. I'm not taking him. And that's Juju Smith-Schuster. And he comes right out on the first drive. He catches a 73-yard touchdown pass tonight. And I'm like, maybe I was wrong, and that was from Landry, of all people. What do you think about Juju? It's just a guy, I think his attitude worries me a little bit.
Well, as far as I like Juju because I love his top end. I mean, yeah, you're going to end up having to take him, with some other wide receiver 1 type guys, but he's going to put up numbers in individual games in best ball. It's going to knock your socks off. So I actually love Juju Smith-Schuster. As far as his attitude, he seems playful enough. He doesn't seem like he doesn't seem like a jerk.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to rub his teammates the wrong way too much, especially with Antonio Brown driving everybody insane.
Antonio Brown is a saint. He is awesome. All right. I'll ask you about a couple other second-year wide receivers here. And they were guys that were injured, missed most of last year, if not all of last year. And that is John Ross and Mike Williams, two guys that have kind of gotten a lot of talk this training camp. Both of them seem like they're healthy. Both of them have clear shots at roles in their offense. What do you think about these two guys? Maybe not in just a best ball, but would you be willing to take? Have you heard anything enough, or are you willing to take a chance on them in a season-long type of league?
Oh yeah, John Ross is going to be looks like wide receiver 2 for Cincinnati. I mean, all the way. So yeah, he's looking like the real deal. I think he's going to do. He's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 for you. I don't think production is going to be a problem there. And as far as let's see, who was the other player? I was thinking
Mike Williams.
Oh, Mike Williams. Yeah, I like his size, and right now with all the tight end drama they have, I think he's going to emerge and have a really good season. I don't know if it's going to be what you'd call a breakout season, but I think he's going to have a very solid wide receiver 2 season, but he's also going to have spikes of wide receiver 1 numbers. It's going to be a very good person to have in the mid rounds. He's a glue guy.
That's what we call Steve. He's the glue around here. If it wasn't for Steve, we'd be all just falling apart.
Oh,
I'm lying,
sweet.
Steve. Steelers are taking on the Eagles tonight, and Joe Trianfetti is he's an Eagle fan. He's in the chat. Good friend of the show. Good guy.
Super Bowl championship Eagle fan.
Yes, he has a couple of questions, and I want to get to them real quick. He asked, and he put Quan Edge. It's not the Quan. It's not like Rod Tidwell. It's the Quant. The Quant Edge cover other sports during the year. Yes, Elliot told us last week that it will cover baseball and cover basketball. They're starting out with football, and that's why if you act now, remember, FF Funhouse, put that code in, you can get the entire football season for $79.99. So there will be other sports eventually. His next question was, it was a question about what's in Kevin's freezer. We don't have to answer that.
Yeah.
He asked if there'll be DFS information on the Quan Edge. But yeah, man, it's going to give you a new way to break down your DFS slates every week and win the big cash. So absolutely, you're going to want to go to the Quant Edge for your DFS content. And the last question he had, and I'll let you take this one, Brad, is who is the best target in best ball from the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles?
Wow, the overall best target. I think the value of Nelson Aguilar is going to be like the best overall target. I like him. He's going to put up borderline wide receiver 1 numbers. Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey's hurt. I don't see too much touchdown regression in that offense for Aguilar, considering he's going to be kind of he's a little bit of a security blanket for Wentz. Wentz and Ertz always screw me up for when I'm talking about the Eagles. Sorry.
With Ertz obviously not playing tonight, Dallas Goedert got 4 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Do you think Goddard is a guy you can take and expect to get Trey Burton type production out of him this year, or you think he's a year away from getting that with Ertz playing?
I think he's a good candidate for Trey Burton production. He's looked fantastic, and I thought he was a great pick for them. And yeah, I like the upside of that kid.
Yeah, I like them adding him a lot, especially after Trey Burton had left. They were able, they don't need to rely on him to be their typical tight end. They have Zach Ertz for that. He is athletic as well, but he can block and all that kind of stuff. So Goddard can come in and he can be that athletic tight end, and he can just replace Trey Burton easily. I love that I got him in the Falafel Assholes Dynasty. I actually got him on accident. I got him super cheap. I don't know why you guys let me do that, but I can't wait. I think he's going to be a good value. And I think in best ball, I think he's a great value as well, because he's going towards the end of all the drafts, and you can stash him as your 3rd tight end on there and only reap all the benefits.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Your wife did send over your Make-A-Wish request, and it was to let you have him, so that's why we did it that way.
Oh, you guys are too sweet.
What's your opinion on drafting guys who are suspended, like Mark Ingram, who did get a touchdown tonight, and Jameis Winston, guys who are seemingly great values, Do you like to gobble up that value, or you're steer clear of guys who have been suspended?
Yeah, I actually like to use that value if I think I can get away with it. Like if I've got a pretty stacked group of running backs or two really good ones, like say I got Ezekiel Elliott and geez, I don't know, Melvin Gordon, and then was able to get Ingram in that kind of a stack. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. But as you know, and as far as Jameis, he's not really going to miss that much time. So
Yeah,
his
3 weeks, right.
his upside's there. I look at a suspension as kind of like injury protection. That's like 3-4 games they're not going to be playing, so they're not going to be hurt.
Yeah, I mean it does extend them a little bit more. It is true.
Yeah, especially in a situation like the best ball championship draft where you're playing for so long that a little bit of longevity doesn't hurt. If you can get a little bit of free longevity like that.
Yeah, in best ball, I think you can definitely take that chance a little more than if you were doing a redraft. You might be thinking about it on a more week-to-week basis as opposed to just the entire season. But with best ball,
Right.
I've taken Mark Ingram in multiple spots, knowing that, I don't care if I don't have him for the first 4 weeks. I've got other, you got Le'Veon Bell, you've got David Johnson, you've got other guys that you can rely on. And then once he gets back, you just get all that more upside. So I absolutely love drafting Mark Ingram right now. His value is great. And he's going to be, what did he do last year that would make you not want to draft him? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Plus, he got popped for PED, so he's going to be in better shape.
Yeah,
that's true. That's
an excellent spin on this turn of events.
Faster when he comes back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this. Bleacher Report dropped a video earlier in the night. So
was it at Le'Veon Bell at the strip club?
I didn't even know that existed. Is that true?
Oh, it exists.
Oh, I didn't. That's not where I was. I was talking about an on-the-field incident that happened before the Carolina Panthers Buffalo Bills game tonight. As we know, the other day, Kelvin Benjamin came out and said, if you would have put me with any other quarterback and a more accurate quarterback, then I would have put up much better numbers. So, I guess Cam Newton took offense to that because he basically walked right up to him pre-game tonight. It was in his face. Kelvin Benjamin wanted absolutely nothing to do with it, just kept trying to walk away. And Cam Newton, much like a child in the cafeteria in middle school, just kept walking alongside of him face to face and finally gave up and walked away. So when Kelvin Benjamin caught his 28-yard touchdown pass tonight and jumped into the end zone, he must have felt fantastic. Talk to us about guys that you think have been going severely undervalued in drafts. And I say that because I think that Kelvin Benjamin is one of those guys. He's a guy, we spoke about Beasley and Amendola, but who are some of these guys? Kelvin Benjamin has wide receiver one upside. He legitimately does. And there's really no competition, even with Corey Coleman coming there in Buffalo. If they get a quarterback situation straightened out there, aside from him, well, you can tell me your feelings on him, but aside from him, who else do you think might be just so severely undervalued?
Well, like you said about Kelvin Benjamin, I do like the fact that he's the only show in town really in Buffalo, so that's great. Undervalued, I really, we've talked about Jarvis. I think Jarvis Landry's been underrated. I think getting him ahead of Gordon is a good value, and I think a good idea, and something you can do almost any draft. Some other guys we can look at. Let's scroll down here. And I mentioned Nelson Aguilar. He's in a great spot with Alshon Jeffrey out. Another guy who's been undervalued and looking pretty good is Pierre Garçon. I mean, he's looking like the wide receiver one there, and he's valued under Goodwin. And then there's another player, Godwin, on the Tampa Bay, who's taken the wide receiver 2 job, and you can get him all day long, like 16th round. That's gonna be a steal.
Should I get rid of all my Deshaun Jackson shares?
Well, I mean, he's still going to be a wide receiver 3. He's still going to be a deep threat. But I don't know the way Godwin's looking. He's
Deshaun Godwin. All these people got all these crazy similar names.
Yeah, and it's just messing me up. I feel like such an idiot.
Deshaun Jackson is just 2 years removed from having a great, I think he was a top end wide receiver too his last year that he was in Washington, and or somewhere right in that range. He had a really good end of the season stretch when him and Kirk Cousins were there, and then he went to Tampa last year and he kind of fell off, and now it's just like he's been replaced. And I think in best ball, I think he's a good option because he's probably going to have those weeks where he catches a 65-yard touchdown, but I think Godwin is definitely the wide receiver 2 that you want there, and I don't think it matters. I don't think you worry about Jameis Winston not being there at all. But I wanted to ask you about Dallas. Who is the wide receiver, if any, are you targeting on that team? Because all of those guys seem to be like a good value. Someone's going to be, other than Cole Beasley. I know you mentioned him, so I guess that would be your answer.
Steve walked himself into a circle.
Well, I actually like Allen Hurns a lot. I think he's going to be, a really good target in that offense. I think that he's going to be a poor man's Dez Bryant for them. So yeah, I think that passing attack's going to look pretty good with a healthy Ezekiel Elliott and an unsuspended Zeke. God, I can't even get his name out.
Excellent. I would go with Zeke from now on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that leads to Dak being probably severely undervalued in drafts this year as well, because I know in Dynasty his value is way down, but in redraft as well.
Right. I think with a healthy Zeke, he's actually going to look pretty decent. I think Dez might be addition by subtraction by moving on from that relationship.
Did you hear that Dez now is going to be coming to Cleveland next week? He finally, after their GM said, he hasn't returned any of our calls. They come out and they play today. They look pretty good on offense. Baker Mayfield's looking good. Tyrod Taylor's looking good, and he's like, "I'll be in Cleveland next week." If I was Dorsey, I'd be like, "Now we're good."
Yeah. I don't see him working out at all with especially with the Todd Haley situation. I don't even see where Dez Bryant really fits into that team. So I would prefer that he didn't go to Cleveland.
I would cold shoulder him. Cleveland needs some hand back. They need some hand. They got no hand. They need a little hand back.
Yeah. I mean, they really do. I mean, they've got a decent enough team if they can just make sure everybody, everybody's bong is broken. They'll be in great shape.
Just to answer one more question for Joe in the chat, he asked, will the Quant Edge have any Dynasty content? Listen, I don't know if they're going to have specific Dynasty content, but all the tools and all the different ways that you could look at the statistics will help you in every single format of fantasy football, whether it be year-long, DFS, Dynasty. You're going to get a look at things and be able to compare and contrast players and positions, and like they said with the injury tool and route trees and stuff like this, that is guaranteed to help you regardless of what form of fantasy football you're playing. So by all means, get on the site, thequantedge.com. Check it out right now for the month of August for free. Remember that if you want to get a 20% off deal, that's the entire NFL season, the whole thing, for only $79.99. I'm guaranteeing that's going to make you a better player. Get on there now and do that. FF Funhouse is our code for you to. All right, Joe Trifinetti is sold. He just wrote, so that's excellent.
Awesome.
Brad, tell everybody where they can find you on social media. Tell them what your name is on the draft app, and that they could get on there now and start challenging you and try to prove that you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm at Mean Mr. Mode on Twitter, and I'm all over the place on that. And on the app, I'm also Mean Mr. Mode.
That's easy.
Way to keep it simple.
People have the same name on multiple apps, right, Sal?
I mean, he's being a dick now, Steve.
The true story behind that is actually that I only created the Twitter account to bitch about something that they took off of draft.
It's like 95% of people on Twitter is what they make their accounts for.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll just have the same name so it'll be consistent, and then
they'll know who you are then.
And then the whole Twitter thing took off, so it was great.
That's perfect.
Very cool. So, what else would you like to tell the people? Give us a parting shot, and just put yourself out there. Tell people about the show, where they can find it, all that stuff.
Well, I'm going to be doing the creatively named Draft Strategy Show for
That's
for
right
the
to the point.
Yeah, for the TQE website, and we're going to concentrate on the first few weeks are going to be getting into that best ball tournament, seeing what kind of rosters you can put together, different formats, and trying to maximize that score for those. And then once we get into the regular season, it'll be a lot more rankings and reports on certain individual players. It's gonna be fantastic. If you play draft, this is really a great place to find information, because surprisingly, there's just not that much draft content out there.
It's a shame.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to get better as things move on.
I got to say this because I forgot to say it at the top of the show, and Mike Riggs right now is probably going, "What's wrong with these guys? What happened?" we recently changed the name of the show from Falafel House, which we were for almost 3 wonderful years, to the Fantasy Football Funhouse. And you can now find us not only in our original home and our original feed, Falafel feed, but you can find us on the Gridiron Experts website. And Mike has been gracious and bringing us into the family, and we love everything that's going on at Gridiron Experts. So I apologize, Mike, for not saying it off the top of the show, but I'm getting it on right now, gridironexperts.com. And you could also go over to fantasyfootballtshirts.com, which is another great site where coming soon, we'll have all the Fantasy Football Funhouse swag. And we're considering doing a falafel vintage shirt, because people have been asking us for the falafel stuff for a while. We hadn't really sold any T-shirts probably in a year to almost 2 years.
I know.
Since
Who's
we have
supposed
sold.
to get that set up?
Yeah, Kevin's not here, so let's blame him. But you're going to be able to very soon on fantasyfootballtshirts.com, very soon be able to get fresh, new Fantasy Football Funhouse logo with Steve's cherubby little face biting on his nails, and me looking much younger than I actually am, and Kevin just looking like a flat out nerd. You'll be able to get that logo very soon. So thank you to the Gridiron Experts guys. Thank you to Mike Riggs. Thank you to Brad Reyes for joining us tonight. We're going to let Steve take it away.
Yes, and we are going to make that up next week on Thursday, where we will be live drafting for the Gridiron Experts 16-team redraft league that us three are all in separately with our own teams. So it'll be fun drafting the winning team live during that podcast. But yes, thank you all for joining us on this second episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. You can find us on Twitter at FF Funhouse. You can find us on Facebook under that same name. And of course, be on the lookout for the website that will be coming back, and will be our home there.
Steve, you ever won a 16-team league?
I actually have.
I won one too. You know who hasn't?
Kevin.
Yes, right. Kevin.
That's right. It's Kevin.
A 16-team league. Kevin. You and I have both won the Falafel League in the last 3 years. Yeah, I should probably go make that Facebook account up, because you just told people to go there. And that's it. I mean, listen, great show. Thank you again, Brad, for coming out. I don't have really anything else to say. I'll put this in for Kevin. We as you remember, we did the podathon to help raise money for fantasycares.net. Put some form of charity into your fantasy football. Take a league entry fee. Send it somewhere. Do something with it. Do something that makes you feel like you're making a difference, and do it now. Damn it. Don't wait any longer. And that's it. We're not going to hit any more buttons. We're going to change that. I want Steve to get rid of that damn encore thing. And yeah, I want the Fun House to be fun and different and new, and I love it. Thank you all for tuning in on YouTube or downloading and listening on Gridiron Experts. See ya!